Well, awesome, guys. Welcome, welcome. More people will come in, and I'll let them in as they roll through. But I just want to welcome you guys to this June edition of the One Up Effect live meetup. Hope you guys are doing wonderful today as we wrap up the second quarter and officially the first half of 2022. There's Jeannie. How are you? Good to see
Thomas,
you.
good to see you too.
Yeah, and for this, every month, I've been doing this for a few months now. Every month we just get together, we talk about where we're at on the road of happiness and fulfillment, and what questions you guys have that can help you get to that next level. What's interesting for me, for those of you who are watching this and don't know who I am, I'm Thomas Edwards, known as a playfulness performance coach, creator and author of the One Up Effect, helping you have fun becoming your best self through purpose, play, passion, and performance. I also started a company back in 2009 called The Professional Wingman. This is where I got my start in the coaching industry, helping people develop the social skills to get into long-term romantic connect relationships, and for 13 years, I've been a coach helping people from all around the world just have fun living better lives. And I made a choice to expand beyond just the dating realm. And I've been doing the more comprehensive wellness and performance solution for the better part of 3 years now. 2 of those years were kind of underground, making sure that, the solution that I had and the methodology that I had was something that was effective and sustainable. And I think ultimately what I believe we look for in life as we continue to grow is solutions that are sustainable, not just effective. We're trying to find things that are not just a means to an end, but a means to continuous growth. And so the one thing I wanted to do, just for me to for at least for my part, to share with you and talk about is just reflecting on 2022 and kind of hear from you what you guys have experienced in the first half of 2022. I want to share with you my concept of how you can level up your life at least 2x your life on the next 90 days, and kind of my methodology and my science behind it. It's simple math, but there's also just a little bit of deeper meaning into it, and also help you guys plan for the next the next half of 2022. What is it you would like to experience? Who is it that you would like to become that gets to experience those things? And how can we set up a structure that can allow you to have fun throughout that process? Everyone who comes in here has a different place that they're coming from in life. And because of that, the kind of support they're looking for may be different. But I can assure you that no matter where you are and what you're looking for, you've still come to the right place because you're looking to find a way to enjoy the process of getting to the results that you're looking for. And so with that being said, I'm in the last, for me, every quarter, I have what I call a quest. This is just things that I go after in my life, things that I haven't done before, because I feel a call to just grow and become a different person. And as I'm looking at the time, I have 12 more hours left in Q2, and there's a lot of things that I want to still be able to do. But in immediate reflection, I can say I'm really excited about what I've been able to accomplish and what I'm still working on. And yeah, I'm just super pumped about it. One big significant thing that I'm excited about accomplishing is I will be officially done writing, completing my manuscript for my book, which is super, super exciting. At this point, it'll be off to my editor, Amanda, and then hopefully I'll never see it again until it comes back to me in a hardcover or a paperback. And so super excited about that. It's been a life-changing experience for me. It's taught me so much about how to show up for myself, what vulnerability looks like in terms of scale. It's one thing for us to get together and for me to pour my heart out to you guys, but this is a book that my intention of this book is for tens of thousands of people to see it. So the scalability by vulnerability has definitely been pushed to the limit. but then also being able to be clear with my ideas and how I want to show up in the world on a consistent basis. It's just been such a great learning experience for me. And it's not done yet. I still have another 11 hours, 52 minutes left to finish it, but I'm almost there. But that's my biggest accomplishment when I reflect on, the last quarter. I would love to hear from you guys. You can even chime in, you can unmute yourself, or you can just write in the chat, what's the biggest thing or accomplishment or experience that you got to have over the past 3 months. You can take a moment and you can chime in however you'd like.
I'll chime in. Something big that's been going on for me in the last quarter is that I've made a decision to kind of drastically reimagine my professional life, because I'm a business owner, and I came to the realization that the business that I own does not bring me any joy. It's a catering business, which was extremely difficult during COVID, as you can imagine. Any food related business was a challenge, but now catering is coming back gangbusters, and I realized that every time we booked a party, instead of being excited about it, I was pissed, because that meant that I was going to have to, try to find staff and get food made and stuff. So I'm merging my company with another company and pursuing something that I always kind of fantasized about doing in my retirement. And I made a decision to move that timeline up. I also completed a divorce from my spouse of 27 years. And, one of my stated reasons for doing that was to find some meaningful happiness in my life. So here I am.
Yeah. Love that, Mark. Congrats on all of that. Care to share what that passion is that you're pursuing now?
How do I describe it? It's a upscale grocery store. It's not someplace you would go to buy milk and bread, but really good olive oil, really good, vinegars, unusual ingredients, small things that you don't see in, your everyday travels through the food world. And, I'm still passionate about food. I've been a chef for my entire adult professional life. So it keeps me involved in food, which I'm passionate about, but, and I'm aware that, I'm a serial entrepreneur, and this new business will have its challenges and probably parts of it that I'm not in love with, but I do get off on building new systems, putting together teams. I think probably the best thing I do is get people to want to work for me or with me. Build good teams that are like, yeah, I want to be on board this. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to doing that again.
It's awesome, man. It's awesome. And kudos to you for seeing that what you were doing, while you did enjoy it for some time, you no longer enjoyed it and found a way to, it sounds like this is an evolution more so than kind of moving away. You're still keeping the things that do bring you joy, which is, rallying people and bringing people together for a greater cause. And you're still keeping that love of food involved as well. And I think that's awesome. I think it's absolutely awesome. In Japanese culture, they talk about the term ikigai, and there's no specific meaning, but the general meaning is reason for living. And through my own internal research and just kind of looking through and paying attention to how people live their lives, our reason for living evolves over time. I don't believe that we carry just one singular purpose over the duration of our lives. And because that evolves over time, what we feel drawn to do will evolve as well. There are people who teach martial arts, or they do horticulture, and they're in their 80s and then their 90s, and they're not doing it because they need the money. Sometimes they do it for free, sometimes they don't, but they do it because that's what they feel drawn to do, you know? And when you get to that point, and for me, I was like, wow, they're in their 80s or 90s, like, why are they not retiring? And it's like, for them, that is their retirement. You know, they're enjoying the activity of what they're doing, and they just happen to be paid for it, but they're just really focusing on what brings them joy based on what they believe their purpose at that time really is, you know? And so I just share that with you as a reflection of just this evolution that I'm seeing in different areas of your life, right? Even with the finality of your marriage, you know? I've always said that, you know, when relationships end, it's more of a commencement than an ending, you know, because when we celebrate commencement, when people graduate, it's literally because it's the end of one thing and the beginning of something new that's exciting, you know. And I'll even go as far as say that, you know, sometimes we may fail to we may not agree with this all the time, but a lot of relationships don't really end; they just change, you know. And your relationship with your ex-wife changed. You know, I don't know what the status of it is. I'm not going to poke into there in this forum, but like, it's just an evolution, right? And that's awesome. So yeah, thanks for kicking us off. Anyone else want to share their signature moment of Q2 this year?
Sure is hard to follow Mark on that. That's a lot in 3 months, Mark. My name is Ron. I live in San Francisco. Met Thomas this last weekend. Sorry for joining a little late. I had another meeting during this time. I didn't think I could attend, and I sat in my Zoom waiting for my colleague to join, and they never did. So it is possible that they're going to slack me any minute now and say, okay, ready to meet, and I'm going to have to bounce.
Yeah, no worries. Glad you're here.
Sit in as long as I could. So I don't have that much to talk about in terms of the biggest accomplishments, but I did have one big accomplishment this last 3 months. It was 2.5 months or so ago, maybe 3 months ago, that I was getting a little depressed with life, and had to sort of figure out what that was about. And I kind of came to the conclusion that I was feeling very weighted down by all that I have to do in my work and my personal life, and I could never get it all done. And I reached out to some of my friends to try to chat with them about, you know, what some solutions to that might be. And one of them was to get some help. And so I got some help around it. And what I've been working on is trying to be so I've got my work life and my home life, but really my work life is like this big. So I've been trying to like work my work life down to a manageable piece. The other thing I'm working on is I'm actually ADHD, and I've sort of dealt with that for a very long time. And so being organized and planning ahead and all of those things are a little bit of a challenge for me, but I'm taking the moment to sort of dial up my skills in those areas. And the accomplishment in that is that it's making a difference. I can see my daily life is, you know, just at the start of this, I've got a lot more work to do, but my daily life is a lot better. I'm feeling less weight around feeling like I never get anything done.
Yeah, that's awesome. Love that, Ron. Yeah, thanks for showing up. Who else has anything they would like to celebrate?
I can go next.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No,
you can go ahead.
Jeannie, you go.
I'll just go ahead. Thank you. Yeah. So mine, for the last 6 months, I've tried a lot of different things. Mostly those were online classes. Oh, first, my name is Jeannie. I also own a company with my co-founder, a colleague that Thomas also know. We're working on building some small communities for remote workers in the woods, in nature. That's what we do, just in general. And what I've been doing was actually, apart from that, personally, I thought I felt a little empty inside. So I was doing a lot of courses. For example, I was taking meditation class. That's a 7-week program that gives you a certificate. it matters to me whenever what I do, it has to have the tangible result. Otherwise, I get a little nervous if I'm wasting my time. But at the same time, I know that this is my tendency all the time, that I have to do something. But thanks to that, I've been kind of accomplishing things. So I'm almost the end of that a 7 weeks program, and I enrolled another year program that's also online. And it is also learning, not only meditation, is like an inner journey, like an exploration, which Thomas is really excelling at, I'm guessing. Yeah, so that is another one that I've been doing. And another thing is I started speaking up a little bit. So my habit is, because I don't like to be judged, either it's good or bad. So I tend to be always quiet in groups of people like this. I never talk, but I started speaking up a little bit. It's very new for me, but it's getting better, I think, as more I do. So that's another change. And the other one is the business that I mentioned in the beginning. We had to pivot a little bit because of the supply chain issue and the pricing issues. So very different from our plan initially, but we didn't give up, and we still changed the plan, and we kind of reorganize ourselves and start moving towards second best choice. So that's where we are. So that is also what I feel accomplished. And in upcoming 6 months, what I'm excited about is, if I keep speaking out for myself and start doing our pivoted business strategy, maybe it will bring different a version of me. Like I will look different, who speak up and then whose business is kind of thriving. So I'm kind of hoping that. So yeah, that's it.
I love it, Jeannie. Thank you for that. And you know, you and Ron, you know, the both of you, and even Mark, you know, the recurring theme that's been going on is like, yes, there's some tangible results on the other side for sure, but it's also the decision to be different, right? The decision to see yourself as, hey, like there's a better version of me that's available to me. I'm going to make a choice to tap into it. That within itself is a huge accomplishment. And then to obviously have the steps, you know, to have the actual plan that can help you get there, you know. And so, you know, I've known you for a little bit, Jeannie, and like, you know, the speaking up part, just that alone, I think can just really change your entire life, just from how you show up, how you communicate the thoughts and ideas that not only that you put out, but are received by others, you know. And I think for me, in my personal experience, when I learned to use my voice a lot more, it actually enhanced my internal voice as well. You know, so the self-talk that I would have actually got better as a result of me speaking up more externally, you know. And so that's definitely something to look forward to.
Yeah.
We'll have Doug go ahead and share, and then I'll get into the idea, because the trend here is actually really good for what I wanted to share with you guys today.
Hello, my name is Doug, and I met Thomas and his wife 9 years ago when I started with a class with them way back then. And on and off, I've taken some classes with them, and more recently, I've been trying to figure out how I can get some more fun into my life, and this whole new book that Thomas is writing and some other things that he's learned over the last couple of years, since I've really taken a class for a couple of years. So he and I are working together now on some of those things, and learning in the last month, I've learned a lot about who I am personality wise and how I can leverage that and have more fun. So it's been pretty good.
Awesome. Thanks, Doug.
Not sure if it sounds like a commercial, but it's really for me. But good job, Mr. T. I appreciate that.
No, I love it, just because I appreciate that, you know. And also, you also made a choice, right? Like I think consistently, whether it's based on overwhelm or boredom, we get to a point where we're just like, this is not where I want my life to be. This is not fun for me. Am I enjoying this? And when we first say that, you know, things aren't fun, sometimes we might feel like, well, is everything supposed to be fun? You know, like, you know, is fun really that important? And my answer is yes, it's very important. You know, when you're not enjoying parts of your life, chances are you are blocking off a part of your physical, mental, emotional, and even spiritual capacity to grow. Because fun, what it does, and play, right? Play and fun work together. But what those two do for you is it creates opportunities to experience wonder and openness and a willingness. And it also allows you to be more receptive to feedback. And it gives you a little bit of that competitive edge because you want to win, you know, but you're enjoying the process of trying to learn and receiving that feedback so you can do better. So you can get that tangible or intangible reward at the end, you know. And so the idea of wanting to make things fun for in your life is not ridiculous. It never was when you were, you know, 4, 5, 6, you know, 7 years old, you know, for the most part. You know, our development biologically has always been centered around play and socializing. One of those, either one or both. And this is true across all mammals. You can look up, you know, how dolphins, how they develop, it's through play and socializing. As humans, it's the same thing, you know. And so, and if you have kids, it's the same thing, right? You're just watching the cycle happen over again, you know, through other kids. It's the way that they're able to learn the most, you know. And so the idea of wanting fun in your life, no matter where you are in your life, is not ridiculous. You know, in fact, it's something that what I like to say, either your soul or future you is trying to communicate to you, communicate to present you that's what it's looking for. And so on the topic of growth, I wanted to share just something very, very simple, a really cool idea, but one that is nice. So I'm going to put up a little note. I'm going to share my screen in a second. I just want to make sure that the math is appropriate here. I'll let you guys know when I share the screen. I'm just gonna put that there. Okay. Let's do it. Let's see, notes. Actually, you know what? Let me put this in a different desktop. Now this is not showing up the way I wanted to, but that's okay. What I'll do is I'll verbalize it to you as specifically as possible. And then you guys can take notes. If you have any questions, feel free to interrupt or type in the chat. I'll immediately stop and address it. But one of the many things I learned about personal growth, and a lot of it had to do with, you know, my spiritual journey and also inside of, you know, my recovery. Each of you know of, you know, my recovery journey, and that being a huge part of my transformation, transfiguration, however you want to call it. But one of the things that I learned was the idea of steady daily growth and just the sheer importance of it and how little it takes for you to be able to experience it. So I'll give you a quick story. Back when it was August of 2018, I had come home. It was about 3 or 4 in the morning. You know, I was drunk, I was high, and I was filled with shame and frustration and guilt. When I'm in that mode, I don't immediately go to bed, even though I'm absolutely exhausted because I couldn't bear the shame of getting into bed with my wife, who at that point was soundly sleeping. Or not. I'm not really sure. Some nights she was, some nights she wasn't. And so I laid on the couch and I went on my phone and I came across this Facebook ad for a coach who, for all intents and purposes, amazing marketer, but was also speaking directly to that pain that I was experiencing. And I remember I was like, this is my guy. I'm going to work with him. And he talked about this idea of completely transforming your life in such a way that you can become unrecognizable in, 3 to 6 months. And for me in that position, I thought that was completely insane. How can you transform your life in such a way where you can walk down the street, or even the people who are closest to you will see that you're unrecognizable to the person that you were before. I didn't fully believe it, but he was talking to me in such a way that I was convinced that if there's anyone who knew, it would be him. So he and I ended up working together, and he showed me a little bit of what I now understand is how to establish integrity and discipline, because I had none at that point. I had no integrity. It was not someone who did what they said, and I had no discipline. The moment of resistance, I immediately gave up and made an excuse for it. So once I was able to establish some integrity by doing things like make my bed, exercise, meditate, and it started to grow over time, I started to build that integrity and that those discipline practices. But then I started to realize, wow, this is not really taking, at the beginning, it was taking a lot of time. And then I thought, well, how much can I really dedicate if my life continues to get bigger, I get busier, I have all these responsibilities, I'm a husband, I'm a dad, I'm a business person. It can get overwhelming to feel like I have time to pause and take care of myself. And so this idea of one day at a time was kind of the origin of this. But I thought, okay, what if it was like 1% at a time? What if I made a choice to improve my life, improve myself as a person 1% at a time? And what if I took 1% of my day to do that? So I actually went in and I did the math, and I thought, okay, what's 1% of 24 hours of a day? Well, it came to around 15 minutes. And I was like, wow, that doesn't actually feel like a lot of time, right? I can actually manage. If I picked one discipline, one practice, and I just did it every day for 15 minutes, I'm sure I could get 1% better. I'm sure. Why not, right? And I thought to myself, because I love numbers, I love math, and I was like, well, what would happen if I just took that number and did that consistently for 90 days? Well, I looked into it, right? 1.01 to the power of 90 is 2.45, which doesn't seem like a lot. However, if you consider where you were before and the idea that you could be possibly 2.5 times better than where you were before, that can be pretty promising. Now, the results get really cool once you get to a year, because if you choose to be 1% better, focusing on one thing every day for a whole year, that number is 37, which means, based on math, you have an opportunity to be 37 times better than where you were a year ago, just by focusing on 1% of your day to be 1% better at one particular thing. And so I share this with you because that, for me, changed my entire life. The idea that I can just be 1% better and see the results compound over time has allowed me to be able to get to a place where even within 90 days, I could become unrecognizable in a particular area of my life. It's how I used it to reconnect with my wife when we were on the verge of separation, possibly divorce. It was a thing that I used to have better physical wellness. It's what I use to create a deeper meditation practice, to be more connected to my higher power, to have a better inner circle of friends and people I can trust, to enjoy life. I mean, even taking 15 minutes just to have unadulterated joy and fun in my life, whether it's playing video games, taking a walk out in nature, calling a friend and checking in on them, talking to a stranger, someone that I don't know. These are the type of things that when I took 15 minutes out of my life to do that has changed my life. And so many things has resulted from that. And so bringing this back now to what we were talking about before in terms of our celebration and how everyone kind of acknowledged that they made a decision, they made a choice to do something differently because they weren't feeling happy. They weren't feeling this sense of fulfillment. Having that dedicated daily commitment to make that decision, right? To really focus and be in practice, in alignment with that decision every single day. You can virtually guarantee yourself these type of results. 2.45, 2.5 times better in 90 days, maybe up to 37 times better in a year. It's not that far-fetched, from a numbers perspective. And it's hard to really quantify that when we talk about life. But the way I can help you and the way I would like to help you, pare it down, and Doug he's starting to get to know this guy, I just introduced it to him, is this idea of being able to track your daily activity. So I'll use Jeannie as a great example for this. She's choosing to use her voice more and speak up more. Great daily practice. And so she can determine, well, how often do I want to try to do this? How often am I committed to doing this? Is it just 1 time a day? Is it 3 times a day? Is it 5? And then just make a point that, okay, I'm going to spend a total of 15 minutes. It doesn't have to be 15 minutes at once, right? But it could be a total of 15 minutes making sure that I'm actively using my voice. And then you can check at the end of the day, hey, like, how many times did I use my voice today? You get that number down. Maybe it's 3 times today. How did that feel? How did I feel about that? Because that feeling is really important. When you feel that sense of whatever it is that you feel, what it ultimately ends up being is like a connection to that choice, that commitment that you made for yourself. And, I know Jeannie, you specifically were like kind of the tangible results at the end, right? That feeling is actually what would be considered an intangible result of the experience. Right? And that intangible result is keyed in on your intrinsic motivation for why you are choosing to use your voice. Because there'll be times where it will be difficult or challenging. I don't want to say difficult. It'll be challenging for you to use your voice because at this point, you're not used to doing it. So it's so much easier right now for you not to than it is. And so the external motivation of what could result in using your voice may not be enough. But when you're able to look back and you're tracking and you're seeing, wow, I've used my voice so much and it has made me feel so good internally about the experience of using my voice and the progress that I'm making in using my voice, just knowing that maybe 2 weeks ago I wasn't doing this, will give you the momentum and the motivation you need to push through and keep doing this again. And this is just one part of your life, right? But imagine practicing this for 90 days, which means chances are you're going to be twice as likely, 2.5 times as likely to speak up than not.
Yeah, I'll try. 15 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a chance. Good to see you, Joe. Thanks for coming, bud. But yeah, there's a chance, right? Like, and I'm just using numbers because it adds a little bit of a metric and some value for us to our logical brains to connect with, right? But the decisions that we're all making in our lives don't really have these metrics, right? So we have to create them ourselves, so that way we can actually be able to see where we're at. And when you're able to do that, it's like, all right, cool, like, imagine being 2.5 times more likely to use your voice. What would that look like? You know, how many doors would that open? How many more conversations would you be able to have? You know, how many more relationships would you be able to have, or improved relationships? You know, how much of a better leader would you be? You know, you already are a leader. How much of an improved leader would you be if you were 2.5 times more likely to use your voice? You know, and so thank you for allowing me to be, you know, have you as an example, but it's an easy way to kind of point out that, you know, the daily process of personal growth does not have to be an overwhelming or daunting experience. You really could break it down in a way that can allow you to have this daily awareness and the ability to practice it each day, knowing that long term, you are actually compounding your growth. It's no different than working out. You know, you go to the gym, you work out, you go for a run, you don't immediately look at the mirror and expect to see all the weight falling off or all your muscles toned or whatever. You know that, but you do know that you experience results because you can feel it in your body. You know, and so keeping that in mind, you can continue to do that as this is part of your practice. So I'll take a moment and not say anymore and open up to you guys to, you know, share, you know, what's coming up for you, any questions you might have about this topic, or maybe even some examples that you can connect with in your own life where this resonates.
Thomas, I love that idea. The idea of just sometimes improving things seems so overwhelming. Like, how do I have the time to work on improving stuff now? I've got all this other stuff I got to do, but I like the idea of really breaking it down. I do have to jump to that other meeting now.
Yeah.
So thank you. Nice to meet you this weekend. Thanks, everybody. Sorry, I've got to cut out a little bit early.
Nah, it's good to see you, brother. Enjoy the day. Yeah. Yeah. Anyone else?
So this is Nicholas. Hello, everybody.
Hey, Nicholas.
Hey, everybody. So I started this therapy 4 weeks ago, and I have 4 more sessions. And it's a therapist that is Harvard trained, and she actually is located in India. And one of the things that she has been working with me is how important action is. And, you know, I kind of like, oh, yeah, whatever, you know, action. Okay, action. But it started out very small. Like normally when I get up, I have CNN on or MSNBC and I get into things, I start cooking and, you know, but it doesn't organize my days. So what she recommended, and she's like, what I'd like you to do is wake up every day, take a 20-minute walk, go down for a cup of coffee. And while you're doing that, I'd like you to kind of get a couple podcasts that you can really enjoy and listen to some really good information while you're walking to make it more purposeful. So actually, I have been doing this now for about 4 weeks, and I am shocked at how, like, the first day I started, you know, I went down to the coffee shop. I live near Mission Creek, so I'm walking next to the creek. Then I get the coffee, I have the dog. I end up like having lunch at Delancey Street restaurant. Then I go and I walk the waterfront with the dog, and I end up at the Giants game, you know, so like none of that was planned, except from that first time, I am ending up doing so many things that I never imagined I would have interest in doing, because I had this pattern of waking up and watching CNN and kind of being overwhelmed with it, and then like say, forget it, I'm just going to work now.
Nick, I love that, you know, and a lot of that's right, just kind of is just changing things up. But, and also like to point out, we live in a world where we are prone to be consumers, you know, consumers of products, consumers of information. And because we're prone to consume, it's so important to really be aware and discerning over what we consume. You know, one of a key stream of fulfillment inside of a methodology of the one-up effect is increasing your value as an asset to the world. You know, and so it seems trivial, right, to switch from CNN to a podcast that you're interested in. But when you think about the value that you can retain from those platforms, what you share, for example, from your experience watching CNN and MSNBC may not be something that other people don't know. Right, because a lot of people watch those things and they have their own, you know, kind of opinions on it, and that may not necessarily lead down a productive path if there's opposing views and whatever, wherever that may be. However, a podcast about something that you're passionate about or something that you're interested in and you're learning, you can easily just walk into a coffee shop and share instantly something that you've learned with someone else, and all of a sudden they're like, huh, I didn't know that. You know, and all of a sudden you're adding value not only to yourself, but you're also adding value to someone else, right, in a positive way, and that creates momentum. You know, and you don't even have to actually share it. You can even selfishly keep it for yourself, but the feeling of learning something new and different just change. It alters your trajectory of how you make choices, how you view things, and of course how you feel and your behaviors, you know. And so even something as simple as that, practicing it, you'll see how it compounds over time, as you've just explained it. So I think that's awesome.
Great, thank you. And the two podcasts that I got were Radio Lab and The Splendid Table.
Nice. I love that.
Thank you, man.
Anyone else have any reflections?
I just have a quick question, probably relevant to what Nicholas thankfully shared. So I do a lot of things every day, and you said 15 minutes, and I think probably about 15 minutes, except speaking up, I would do like journaling or, you know, meditation and reading a book and all that. But what I see is not as dramatic change as a lot of people usually share. I think the reason was, I just figured out when Thomas, you said about fun and socializing is the source of involvement for people like us, not people like us, people and mammals. And also Nicolas shared how it changed, like doing things every day. I think the difference between me and two of you was there was no other person part. So I do everything so alone. Everything doing it alone. So it is perfect because I'm very devoted to changing myself. But there is nobody who is sharing this, like, oh, I'm doing journaling every day and I'm talking about this. I do podcasts every day, 15 minutes, about 15, 20 minutes and all that. But there was nobody else. So I think the difference was coming from me being completely alone all the time and not sharing that with anybody. I think that was coming. Yeah, I think that was it. I just wanted to share. It's a big realization for me. So I'll probably change something.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, play, and as you know, Jeannie, some of you guys don't know. So you know, the methodology has 4 worlds that you play in. There's purpose, play, passion, and performance. And each side of each world, there are 3 streams of fulfillment. So inside the world of play, there are the people, the places, and the experiences that bring you joy. Mm-hmm. Play is a big social experience. You know, even if you're playing with yourself, there's still this sense of feeling social, because you're still connecting with yourself, right? Mm-hmm. And the more we play with other people or go to places where we can have fun and be exposed to other people, what I've noticed with my clients that I work with them is that their experience of growth dramatically increases because they feel a sense of connection to an external purpose. they might be connected to their internal purpose, which I imagine for you, Jeannie, like you seem very rock solid in your internal purpose and in your drive to be able to become better and to be ambitious and driven. And then being able to take that and share it with other people, right? Be involved in experiences where you get to play and connect with other people. It really does enhance the experience for sure, you know? And so that is definitely something to work on, you know, that in conjunction with using your voice more.
Yes, I
Right?
agree.
Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
I remember a long time ago when I was first starting to do these like 90-day quests. One of my first quests was I realized that I didn't really have a lot of people close to me in my life, because prior to that choice of changing my life, I was around a lot of people who were drinking and drugging, and I was not communicating with them between the hours of 6 a.m. and 10 p.m. You know, and so when I cut them out of my life, it was pretty lonely, you know, because I just didn't really have people that I could trust or go to spend time and connect with. So the first quest that I did was I wanted to build relationships with at least 6 biz dads. That's how I coined it, right? And basically they were just fathers who ran their own businesses, you know, and it really helped me change how I was socializing and connecting with people, because I noticed that I would predominantly connect with people on a surface level and not really try to go deeper, because I had this story in my mind that I automatically assumed that they didn't get me because they weren't a dad, or they didn't have their own business, right? Or they weren't in a relationship. And that was partially true because I did spend a lot of my time with single people, considering my previous work. But when I then started to hang around and look for places that had dads, and eventually started to connect with those who had their own businesses, it made me realize that, wow, like there's a lot of deep connection that can be made, you know, if I just surround myself with the right people for me. And it started to, you know, open the doors even more, you know. And so you can, I use that as an example for you to play with that, right? Like who in your life would you feel comfortable or not comfortable using your voice with more, and making a decision to practice that on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds fun.
And then, you know, I know we had talked a little bit at the beginning, Mark, but we were talking about playfulness inside of relationships, right? And so there's an old saying that I would hear, and it's about, you know, the last thing you want to take seriously in your life is yourself. You know, and that really rang true to me, is that, you know, we get to make fun of ourselves. You know, we're living this kind of this satirical comedy called life. You know, we get to now be in a place, if we're, you know, healthy, right? If we're physically, mentally, spiritually healthy, that we can look back at or look at moments in our lives and poke fun at that, you know? So there's one side of that, right? It's kind of being more of a jokester with yourself, not in a degrading way, but just not making a big deal out of you being a human being, a human, right? You having a human experiences, which are greatly flawed, right? And then the other part of, you know, playfulness inside of relationships can be the introduction of games, right? Being able to go out and just actually play games together, whether you create them or you bring them, like a board game or a card game. You could even play like 20 questions, or you can just think of what are some silly games that you played with, you know, relationships in the past, you know, maybe when you're a teenager. What are some of those fun games? Because they're still fun and they're cheesy and corny, but they're still great ways to connect, you know? And the last thing is also in the dynamic of the relationship. And so how can you, and the best way that I love to, I think is the most effective and consistent way is to tease, you know? And so giving pet names, you know, to someone, because teasing is a great way to flirt, right? If you remember in grade school, you know, if, for at least for me, I'll share for me, you know, if a girl pushed me in the sandbox, she had a crush on me. You know, if she was trying to trip me on my way to walk up to the front of the class, yeah, she liked me, you know. In some I didn't have that awareness back then, but it's pretty clear now, right? It doesn't have to be that rudimentary, right? But anything that just kind of pokes fun at, you know, the other person in a playful way, teasing, giving them a pet name.
Sometimes that can feel like a risk,
Yeah,
which I'm all about taking risks these days. I mean, it's a new relationship, and you know, we're kind of not necessarily at the pet name stage, and you know, I've thrown a couple things out there, and I'm like, ooh, but yeah, it's, you know,
yeah,
thank you for that perspective.
yeah, absolutely. And what a great point to make is, you know, when we're choosing to do something that we've never done, it's inherently risky behavior, you know. When I work with my clients, I was just talking with a client a couple hours ago, and you know, he's 2 weeks away from finishing his first quest. And he, you know, he was kind of a little down on himself. He's like, oh, you know, I feel like I haven't really, you know, done much. And he's actually done a lot, but you know, he's an achiever, you know, and so for him, it's like either complete or it's failure, you know. And I'm getting him into the idea of that it's progress, not perfection. But I told him, were you doing any of these things 3 months ago? You know, he said no. I'm like, okay, well, you've already done at least 50% of the things that you've never done before. It's pretty amazing for 10 weeks of working on this, right? And for him, it was really 8 because he needed a couple of weeks to get himself into the mix, right? So for 2 months, he already did half of the things that he had never done before. It's pretty awesome, you know? And so everything that you guys have talked about, you know, in terms of the decisions you guys made, celebrating that and what you're looking to do moving forward, keep in mind that this is something that you either haven't done before ever, or it's been a very, very long time since you've done it the last. And the fact that you're able to make any progress is a huge win, huge, because the person that was yesterday, you did not do this. Do what you're doing today. And so important, because our minds will trick us and try to convince us that we're not good enough. And it tries to use immediate reference points. For example, comparing yourself to other people, comparing yourself to where you want to go, and will use that information to convince you that you suck, that you are not good, you know, that you are a failure. And how you counteract that is by practicing, you know, gratitude. Really, gratitude is really the equalizer to that place of I'm not good enough, right? And how you practice it in this way is compare yourself today to as recent as who you were yesterday, or compare yourself, you know, yesterday to where you were last month. You know, so for example, Mark, like, where were you when your divorce wasn't final and you were not in a relationship, right? Who was that guy? And how much better off are you than that guy today? You know, it might be significant, it may not be, but it's still something, you know? And so when you're able to look at that, then you realize, wow, like I am actually making progress. I actually am, you know, growing. And once again, it taps into that intrinsic motivation to keep going, you know, when you don't see it. Because it's so easy to look at the fact that you're not 100% or whatever, and it's like, oh, you know, I'm the worst. But you're doing something that you've never done before or haven't done in a really, really long time. And so you get to give yourself some grace.
Yeah, I'm definitely in a growth phase, and I'm grabbing it with both hands.
Yeah, yeah, and it's risky. It's risky, you know, but the return on risk in this game is pretty good if you keep at it every day, you know. And so that's what I wanted to share with you guys today. You know, just to I know you guys you've already, made decisions on, where you guys would like to go with Q3. And I want to create space for you guys. If you guys want to declare anything for yourself, just for yourself, right? For what you would like to, well, I'll rephrase it. I'm sure we got 2 minutes. Okay. I'll be really quick with this. I want to drop another nugget for you guys. So in a different game of life, in my experience, I've learned that I had adopted this formula where, have plus do equals be, right? So if I had the thing that I thought was gonna make me happy, then I would be able to do the thing that would make me be happy, right? So if I had more money, I'd be able to do more things, then I'd be happier. If I had the relationship or the great marriage, if I lost the last 5 pounds, I'd be able to, do these things and be happy, right? And I've done enough research and study to show you that those things do not make you happy, not nearly as happy as our mind leads us to believe. And so I went back and I tried to reformat the formula of have plus do equals be into something more tangible. And what I came up with is be times do equals have. Whereas you focus on who do you want to be inside of this experience or as a result of the experience, right? What does that person do consistently? Because that's what compounds the efforts. And then whatever ends up having is what you end up having. There's less attachment on what the having looks like and more appreciation for the fact that you have something at all as a result of your efforts. So it's really more focused on who you're choosing to become and what you're choosing to do. So I want to drop that nugget and then place this question to you guys, and you don't have to answer this, but I would love to hear it if you were willing to, is as you look into the third quarter here, who is it that you were looking to become? And what does that person do to start doing today to help them get there? So if you think, let's say 90 days from now, who are you choosing to be? And what does that person do starting today to get them there?
I'll go.
Yeah.
Naturally, I'll be naturally communicating with people in business and in personal life without worrying about being judged in 90 days. And for that, I already started with you guys. I started talking in this foreign environment, and I'll keep doing it with someone who's comfortable with me to start with.
Awesome. Love that, Jeannie. That's so good. Thank you for sharing that.
I thank you, Thomas.
Yeah. Anyone else want to take a stab?
Well, I wrote in chat, this is Nicholas again, that today I've committed to start, we have a gym in our complex, and I'm going to actually spend time between 2 and 3 today in the gym. I haven't done that in 42 years, but I gave my word. And what I want from that, I've lost 8 pounds in the last 2 months. And what I want from all this is I noticed that when I put on my shirts, now I can wear 80% of my closet. Before I used to only be able to wear 20%. And I got to tell you that the biggest thrill for me is when I put on the shirts that I really enjoy wearing and they fit right. I just am so, I'm just so pleased at that simple little thing, like having the shirts that I like and being able to wear them comfortably. And so the working out is a part of that. It's about being fit. It's not about looking good. I just want to be really healthy.
There it is. Being fit, being healthy. And that version of Nick goes to the gym, and that intrinsic motivation that you just described of putting on the shirt and it just feeling good, right? That is the driving force, right? And by the way, what you will have as a result of that is actually looking good. You know what I mean? Like that will just naturally come as a result. But because you're not focused on that, it won't be something that will just detract you or create resistance in your journey towards doing that, you know? And so however much time you spend at the gym or whatever you do in the gym will be so much better than you did yesterday. And you did for, as you said, past 42 years, you know? So I don't take that declaration lightly. That is significant, you know? So thank you for sharing that, you know? And yeah, I think we're about at time. It's 1:03 my time. So I want to make sure I honor the hour that we have, but I just want to thank you guys for showing up and celebrating, you know, Q2, making some declarations for Q3, and just hopefully this was really valuable to you guys, and you guys are able to connect and just share and practice some of these things. If you have any questions or just want to reach out to me directly, you can do it at thomas@thomasedwardsjr.com. And of course, if you want more support, for those of you who are here, or those of you who are listening, who want more support in creating that plan and that structure that can help you get on your quest towards becoming a better person and being unrecognizable over the course of 90 days, or even taking that to the next year, you can go to thomasedwardsjr.com and you can reach out to me, and we can set up a time where we can discuss and chat all about how we create that plan. But I'm here every month, here to be of service to you guys. And it's just such a privilege and pleasure to be here and to connect with each and every one of you. So with that, I will let you guys go, live, love, and have fun. And I'll see each of you guys at some point in the future.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Thomas,
Thomas.
so much.
Yeah, you got it.